Welcome once again to Godly Father's channel. Today we'll continue with our story that touches on faith through the storm. The journey of the Matthews family. Chapter 3. Please, if you have not listened to previous chapters of this story, I will indulge you to listen to them before proceeding to chapter 3. Before we start, if you have not subscribed to our channel, we'll appreciate it if you can just click on subscribe button. Please subscribe now and God bless you as you do so. So now, let's start on chapter 3. The abyss of despair. The hospital room was a sterile haven of beeping monitors and antiseptic smells, a stark contrast to the vibrant life that had once filled the Hamilton home. Matthew lay motionless in the bed, tubes snaking from his body, his once bright eyes now vacant and lifeless. John sat slumped in a chair beside him, his shoulders hunched, his face etched with lines of sorrow and exhaustion. "Why, God? Why?" he whispered, his voice hoarse with emotion. "Why would you take our son? What did we do to deserve this?" His words hung heavy in the air, unanswered and unheard. The silence was deafening, a stark reminder of the void that had opened up in their lives. Eleanor, kneeling by Matthew's bedside, clutched a rosary in her trembling hands, her lips moving in silent prayer. But even her faith, once a source of unwavering strength, was faltering under the weight of their grief. The days turned into weeks, and still, there was no change in Matthew's condition. The doctors spoke of brain damage, of a life confined to a wheelchair, of a future devoid of joy and purpose. The Hamiltons, once a picture of resilience, were crumbling under the weight of their despair. John, unable to cope with the pain, sought solace in the bottom of a bottle. His once sharp mind dulled by alcohol, he became a shadow of his former self, haunted by nightmares and plagued by guilt. Eleanor, her spirit broken, clung to her faith with a desperate fervor, but even her prayers seemed to bounce off the ceiling, unanswered and unheard. Olivia, witnessing her parents' descent into darkness, retreated further into her own world of silence and self-loathing. The guilt she had carried for so long now festered within her, a poisonous vine that choked her spirit. Ethan, sensing the tension and sadness that permeated the household, withdrew into his own world of make-believe, his laughter a hollow echo in the empty halls of their home. The Hamilton family, once a beacon of hope, was now adrift in a sea of despair, their faith a lifeboat taking on water. The darkness that had been lurking beneath the surface had engulfed them, casting long shadows over their lives. The questions that had once been whispered in the corners of their minds now echoed loudly in their hearts. Where was God in their suffering? Had He abandoned them? Was their faith nothing more than a delusion, a flimsy shield against the harsh realities of life? The days following the accident were a blur of pain, confusion, and despair for the Hamilton family. They moved through life as if in a fog, their hearts heavy with grief and their minds clouded with doubt. Yet, in the midst of the darkness, tiny sparks of light began to flicker, unexpected acts of kindness that pierced through the gloom and offered a glimmer of hope. One evening, as Eleanor sat by Matthew's bedside, her eyes swollen from crying, a nurse named Mary entered the room. Mary, a petite woman with a gentle smile and a soothing voice, placed a comforting hand on Eleanor's shoulder. "I know this is hard," Mary said softly, her eyes filled with compassion. "But remember, God is with you in this. He hasn't abandoned you." Her words, simple yet profound, resonated deep within Eleanor's soul. It was as if a tiny seed of hope had been planted in the barren soil of her heart, a seed that could potentially blossom into something beautiful. The next day, as John sat alone in the hospital chapel, drowning his sorrows in alcohol, a stranger approached him. The man, a fellow patient named Richard, had seen John's anguish and felt compelled to offer a listening ear. "I've been where you are," Richard said, his voice thick with emotion. "The pain is unbearable, I know. But there is hope, John. There is always hope." Richard shared his own story of loss and redemption, of how he had found solace and strength in his faith. His words, spoken with such sincerity and empathy, ignited a spark of hope in John's heart, a spark that had long been dormant. That brings us to the end of chapter 3. We hope that you will join us again for the chapter 4 to know what happens next to Hamilton family. Thank you for listening and watching. If you find our content helpful, please click on the subscribe button and subscribe to our channel for more Godly Fathers contents.